Let's go! Let's go, everybody. This is Dollar Bill on this cold, freezing, snow on the way, January 26th morning. I think it's the 26th. I lose track. When you're old like me, you lose track of dates. All I know is it's Wednesday. It's 2 days till snow, 3 days to the weekend. But right now on the Let's Go Network, and you know how we do it on SPiTBALLiN, 1 or 2 topics, no script, just my big old mouth. And I emphasize the word old this morning because I'm feeling a little bit old and I'm angry. And, you know, I'm kind of thinking like a young man today when it comes to this whole baseball Hall of Fame nonsense. I'm thinking more like my 11-year-old than my older self. Because I'm really, listen, I'm a Yankee fan. I don't hate David Ortiz per se. But really, like he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like really now, like it's unbelievable. Like it's unfathomable to me. And my views have changed a little bit along the years. You know, do you let the cheaters in? I mean, there's a lot of bad dudes in the Hall of Fame. People that kill people. Doesn't matter what sport. You know, everyone acts like we're holier than thou. You know, it's amazing how it's become, know what the Hall of Fame voting's become? It's become the high school, the middle school lunch table. That's what it is. It's all a popularity contest. No way in God's green earth. And listen, David Ortiz, you know what? This is first of all, this is how you pass the test of being a Hall of Famer. And they should never waver, and they should go by me. Honestly, they should have a guy going around and say the name, Hall of Famer, yes or no. If you can't say yes in a second and a half, not a Hall of Famer. That means you got to think about it. Hall of Fame is supposed to be the Hall of Fame. The greatest of the great. Not compilers like, Robin Yount, a Hall of Famer, Don Sutton, a Hall of Famer. They reached certain milestones. The Hall of Famers, no. I mean, come on. There's levels to this. David Ortiz, a Hall of Famer? Yeah. You look at his numbers and you know what he did. He's got 3 rings and, he said, F those guys, after the Boston bombing up there about 8 or 9 years ago and Big Papi. And, we forget that he got shot 5 or 6 times and should have died. So he's probably, a little guilty of something, right? His name was in the Mitchell report, but Manfred says that's a false positive. Well, Barry Bonds, I don't think was on that report. And while he is guilty in the court of public opinion, he's never proven guilty of anything. Never failed a test. So the greatest home run hitter of baseball history, outside of Mr. O in Tokyo, but, be that as may. I mean, Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he suddenly got better at 37. Now listen. Do I think he took something? Yeah, he took something. But he got tired of the press going crazy and saying, McGwire and Sosa. I'm going to say it right here. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were great players in their own right. They weren't a pimple on Barry Bonds' ass. I said it. There are levels to this stuff. Barry Bonds, it was not good with the press. He was a malcontent. He was moody. He didn't run things out. A lot of people, there's a lot of reasons not to like him. But you know what? This isn't a popularity contest. It's about putting a guy in that's worthy of all-time recognition. 73 homers, 762 homers, 7 MVPs. Pretty good ball player there. I don't know if he makes the Mount Rushmore of all-time greats because of the links to steroid. We think he took something. We don't know. We think we know, but we really don't know. He's probably guilty, but we really don't know. Does he make the Mount Rushmore? No. Is he the greatest ball player of all time? No. Is he in the top 10? Probably. And listen, he won 3 MVPs before he ever left Pittsburgh when he was hitting 31 home runs a year and driving in 105, 106. And he was a skinny little nothing and stole 49 bases a year. People forget about that. When we're counting stats along the way, those numbers count too. And no one ever accused him being on steroids when he was 170 pounds, 175 pounds, like a noodle. Like, listen, let's be fair. He had a noodle arm. He will never, like, people say Barry Bonds is a 5-tool player. No. He's a 4-tool player. He played the outfield well, but he had a noodle arm. And if you're old like me and you played Stratomatic baseball, Barry Bonds didn't have a -3 arm like most of them, and he didn't have a -5 arm like Dave Winfield and Jesse Barfield. Barry Bonds is +1. He had a noodle arm. It was accurate, but it was a noodle. But he made up for it with his bat. The guy's a Hall of Famer. You might think he's an a-hole. He's a Hall of Famer. And he's a better Hall of Famer. If there's levels to this, he's a better Hall of Famer than David Ortiz ever was and will be. David Ortiz did nothing in Minnesota. 0. All of a sudden, he went to Boston and kind of just figured it out, you know? And kudos to him for figuring it out. But what did he figure it out with? He was on the Mitchell Report. You know, he hit .265 with 18 home runs in Minnesota his last year. And then he went to Boston, you know, a lefty hitter's nightmare, per se, and became who he was. Became Big Papi. In Minnesota, he was just little David. But, you know, he is a Hall of Famer. Congratulations to Mr. Ortiz, Big Papi. Well-deserved. He's a Hall of Famer. They think there's something to be said about being a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is not. And with 78% of the vote or thereabouts, clearly not. Barry Bonds, sorry, bud, you got robbed. Roger Clemens, another Boston native team. The Yankees, the whole nine. Listen, we know he cheated. And he's a bum, and he's a lion bum, and he threw the bat at Piazza, and he probably should have said, yeah, I hate the guy. I threw the bat at him. I would have much more respect for him. He won 350 games or something. He pitched to is like 100. 7, you know, he was a little bit of a gagger in the playoffs. But he was great. He was an a-hole. He was a cocky a-hole, but he's great. And you know what? In the top, you know, if we have the Mount Rushmore of pitchers, is he in the Mount Rushmore pitchers? No. Is he probably in the top 10 pitchers of all time? Probably. What are we talking about here? You know, and these writers, I mean, if we dug through their closets, I'm sure we'd find a couple skeletons along the way and all of them, too. But who are these these guys who do all the writing and the girls and whatnot? You know, probably got picked on in high school by the athletes. They gave him a couple wedgies. And maybe these guys, he didn't give me a story when I was shut up. You know, athletes are ornery. You know, they're not perfect. Neither are you. But you're going to have, you know, the pen is mightier than the sword. And you're going to go on your moral high ground and keep these guys out of the Hall of Fame. BS. I call BS. You didn't do your job. You let Papi in on the first try on the Mitchell Report. Barry Bonds never failed nothing. Greatest stats of all time. Probably had the greatest season of all time at age 39. But yet, after 10 tries, he's not getting in. Something wrong. And then, you know, I defend baseball to the hills. And, you know, the Hall of Fame voting isn't exactly like baseball. But if you don't think Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are Hall of Famers, you're an a-hole too. And you have like, if you go holier than thou, I could probably go into your college past and you've made some mistakes along the way too. I'm sure you haven't been the nicest of all times. You're a reporter, you know. You're lower than pond scum sometimes to get a story, beating each other up to be the first or whatever. Instead of being first, just be best and be better. You know, if you demand people to be better on the field and off the field, then you be better too. So, sorry, Barry, you got robbed. Roger, never really a fan, even when you were Yankees. You're kind of a douche. You got robbed. You know, Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire, while not the players, you know, the first two are, and maybe not even on the level of Big Papi, but, you know, they saved baseball after the strike in 1998. And what they were doing wasn't technically illegal. And, you know, they weren't complaining when those guys were putting asses in seats and bringing eyeballs to the TV sets and putting money back in people's pockets, especially the owners. And they gave the writers something to write about. Gave them jobs. I mean, really. You know, Babe Ruth saved baseball in the 20s. You know, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa kind of saved it in the 90s. You know, and they've been vilified. Listen, they made their mistakes for sure. But man, oh man, I'm tired of these holier-than-thou. That's why baseball has a bad rap. And the guy, I'm tired of the BS. Is the guy a Hall of Famer? Did he cheat? Yeah, he probably did. And Rocket, we know he did. But the hypocrisy. We know on the Mitchell report, we're supposed to be off the record, but got caught. A-Rod got bangs for that. How come David Ortiz doesn't? I mean, A-Rod still has a career. And they're on set on Fox, which is amazing. But it is what it is. So, listen. If you want people to like baseball again and it's too boring, can we acknowledge greatness? I mean, everyone was kind of cheating anyway, right? They still cheat today. Spite attack. They're making tons of money and no one really says a lot about spite attack, right? Trying to get an advantage. It will happen until the day we die. Well, people are always going to get an advantage over another. But you know what? We have the time to realize that the writers have to recognize greatness. Check their shoes at the door, check their coat at the door, unwind their panties, and you know what? Get the guys in the Hall of Fame that deserve it, because Bonds and Clemens sure as hell do. That's it for this edition of SPiTBALLiN. You can catch us on the Let's Go Network, on YouTube especially. Check out my daily TikTok videos. I'll educate you. I'll make you think. And, sometimes I give you some picks and give you ways to make money too. So, please, and especially to the baseball writers, this means a lot. Try and make some common sense out of your sports, your baseball votes, and your life. Catch you next time on the next edition of SPiTBALLiN. We talk about James Harden leaving $227 million on the table because he's too busy playing basketball and doesn't have the time to do it. Come on, Keyshawn, you're better than that. Bye.